Book of Heaven, Volume 6. 4th to the 9th of August, 1904. Page 44–50. August 4, 1904. The state of the blessed in heaven will be according to the ways in which they comported themselves with God on earth. From the very way God is for the soul, it can be seen how the soul is for God. This morning, when blessed Jesus came, he transported me outside of myself, and taking me by the hand, he led me as far as underneath the vault of the heavens, from where one could see the blessed and hear their chanting. Oh, how the blessed were swimming in God! One could see their lives in God, and the life of God in them. This alone seems to me to be the whole essence of their happiness. It also seems to me that each blessed is a new heaven in that blessed dwelling, but all distinct among themselves. There is no one similar to anyone else, and this happens according to the ways in which they comported themselves with God on earth. One tried to love him more. He will love him more in heaven and will receive from God ever new and increasing love, in such a way that this heaven will have a divine shade and feature, all special. Another tried to glorify him more, and blessed God will give him ever increasing glory, in such a way that this new heaven will be more glorious and glorified by the very divine glory, and so with all the other distinct ways that each one had with God on earth, such that, if I wanted to say everything, I would be too long. So, it can be said that what we do for God on earth, we shall continue in heaven, but with greater perfection. Therefore, the good we do is not temporary, but will last for eternity and will shine before God and around us continuously. Oh, how happy we will be in seeing that all our good and the glory we give to God, as well as our own, comes from that little bit of good that we started imperfectly on earth. If all could see this, oh, how they would hasten more to love, to praise, to thank and other things the Lord, so as to be able to do it with greater intensity in heaven. But who can say everything? Rather, it seems to me that I am speaking much nonsense about that blessed dwelling place. My mind has it in one way, but my mouth cannot find the words to manifest it. Therefore I move on. Then, afterwards, he transported me to earth. Oh, how horrifying are the troubles of the earth in these sad times! Yet, it seems that this is still nothing, compared to what will come, both in the religious state, so much so, that it seems that the Church, this good and holy Mother, will be torn to shreds by her very children, and in the secular state. Then, after this, he took me back into myself and told me, "Tell me a little bit, my daughter, how am I for you?" And I, "Everything. You are everything for me. Nothing enters into me, everything flows outside but you alone." And he, "And I am all for you. Nothing of you goes out of me, but I delight all of myself in you. So, from the very way I am for you, you can see how you are for me." Having said this, he disappeared. August 5, 1904. Jesus, ruler of kings and Lord of lords. Continuing in my usual state, blessed Jesus came for just a little, in the act of ruling and dominating everything, and of reigning with the crown of king on his head and with the scepter of command in his hand. While I was seeing him in this position, he told me, though in Latin, but I will say it according to what I understood. "My daughter, I am the ruler of kings and the Lord of lords. To me alone is this right of justice due, which the creature owes me, and by not giving it to me, she denies me as creator and master of everything." While saying this, he seemed to take the world in his hand and turn it upside down, so that creatures would submit to his regime and dominion. At the same time I could also see how the Lord ruled and dominated my soul, with such mastery that I felt all submerged in him. From him came the regime of my mind, of my affections, of my desires. Many electric wires passed between me and him, through which he directed and dominated everything. August 6, 1904. The privation is pain of fire that ignites, consumes, annihilates, and its purpose is to destroy the human life to constitute the divine. This morning I went through a most bitter time because of the privation of my highest and only good. The sorrow of the privation was such that, as I found myself outside of myself, the pain of my soul was so great, that the pain itself administered such strength to it that it wanted to destroy whatever it found as hindrance to finding its all, God. And not finding him, it would shout, cry, run more than wind. It wanted to upset everything, to turn everything upside down in order to find the life it was lacking. Oh, privation, how intense is your bitterness! Your sorrow is always new, and because it is new, the soul feels the bitterness of the pain as ever new. My soul feels as if one whole flesh would separate into many shreds, and all those shreds, with justice, ask for their life, and will find it only if they find God, who is more than their life. But who can say the state I was in? Meanwhile, saints, angels and purging souls rushed up to me, placing themselves in circle around me and preventing me from running, compassionating me and assisting me. But everything was useless for me, because in them I could not find the one who alone could soothe my pain and restore my life, and so I shouted more, crying out, "Tell me, where can I find him? If you want to have pity on me, do not delay showing him to me, for I can take no more." Then, after this, he came out from within the depth of my soul, and it seemed that he pretended to be sleeping, without being concerned about the hardness of my poor state. But even though he would not bother and was sleeping, at merely seeing him I breathed my life as one breathes air, saying, "Ah, he is here with me." However, I was not freed of the pain in seeing that he would not even pay attention to me. Then, after much suffering, as if he had awakened, he told me, "My daughter, all other tribulations can be penances, expiations, compensations, but only the privation is pain of fire that ignites, consumes, annihilates, and does not give up until it sees the human life destroyed. But while it consumes, it vivifies and it constitutes divine life in it." August 7, 1904. The first to persecute the Church will be the religious. As I was in my usual state, I found myself surrounded by angels and saints, who said to me, "It is necessary that you suffer more for the imminent things that are about to happen against the Church, for if they do not come about imminently, time will make them happen in a milder way and with lesser offense to God." And I said, "Is suffering perhaps in my power? If the Lord gives it to me, I will gladly suffer." Meanwhile, they took me and brought me before the throne of our Lord, and they prayed together that he would make me suffer. And blessed Jesus, coming toward us in the form of the crucified, shared his pains with me, not only once, but I spent almost all morning amid continuous renewals of the crucifixion. Afterwards, he said to me, "My daughter, sufferings divert my just indignation, and the light of grace is renewed in the human minds." Ah, daughter, do you think that it will be the secular who will be the first to persecute my Church? Ah, no, it will be the religious, the very leaders who, pretending now to be sons, shepherds, while in reality they are poisonous snakes that poison themselves and others, will begin among themselves to lacerate this good mother. And then the secular will follow. Then, as obedience called me, the Lord withdrew, but all embittered. August 8, 1904. The soul must look for Jesus within herself, not outside. Everything must be enclosed in one word: love. One who loves Jesus is another Jesus. While I continued struggling, my adorable Jesus came for just a little, but even though I felt him near me, I would try to grab him, and he would escape me, almost preventing me from going outside of myself to go in search of him. Then, after I struggled very much, he made himself seen for just a little and told me, "My daughter, do not look for me outside of yourself, but within yourself, in the depth of your soul, because if you go outside and do not find me, you will suffer very much and will not be able to endure. If you can find me more easily, why do you want to struggle more?" And it is because I believe that not finding you immediately within myself, I can find you outside. It is love that pushes me to this. And it is love that pushes you to this? Everything should be enclosed in one single word: love. If the soul does not enclose everything in this, it can be said that she does not know a thing about loving me, and according to how much the soul loves me, so do I expand the gift of suffering. And I, interrupting him, all surprised and afflicted, said, "My life and my whole good, so, since I suffer little or nothing, I love you little, or not at all. What fright, the mere thought that I do not love you! My soul feels a sharp disappointment, and I even almost feel offended by you. And he added, "I do not intend to disappoint you. Your disappointment would press on my heart more than on your own. And besides, you must not look at the mere corporal sufferings, but also at the spiritual, and at the true will you have to suffer. Because if the soul truly wants to suffer, for me it is as if the soul had suffered. Therefore calm yourself and do not be troubled, and let me continue speaking. Haven't you ever seen two intimate friends? Oh, how they try to imitate each other, and to reproduce the other within themselves. They imitate the voice, the manners, the steps, the works, the clothes, in such a way that the friend can say, 'The one who loves me is another me, and since he is me I cannot help loving him.' So I do with the soul who encloses all of me within herself, as though within a small circle of love. I feel as though reproduced within her, and finding myself, I love her with all my heart, and I cannot do without being with her, because if I leave her, I would leave myself." While saying this, he disappeared. August 9, 1904. It is not the works that constitute the merit of man, but obedience alone, as a birth from the divine will. After delaying, he came for just a little like a bolt of light, and I was left filled with this light inside and out. I am unable to say what my soul comprehended and experienced within this light. I will only say that, afterwards, blessed Jesus told me, "My daughter, it is not the works that constitute the merit of man, but it is obedience alone that constitutes all merits as a birth from the divine will, so much so, that everything I did and suffered in the course of my life, everything was a birth from the will of the Father. This is why my merits are innumerable, because they are constituted by divine obedience. Therefore, I do not look so much at the multiplicity and greatness of the works, but at the connection they have, either directly with divine obedience, or indirectly with obedience to one who represents me.